This is not the video I was expecting to be recording right now. I was going to be recording fitting the small rig L bracket onto the Sony ZV-1. To do that, I was going to be using my Rode Wireless Go 2 mics to record the audio, and they've been sat for a while, about a year I think, in my ZG Cine battery charger. So decided I'm going to check the firmware, check the battery status, make sure the settings are right. So plugged it into the Mac and they needed charging. Fair enough, they've been sat for a long time. So charged them up, checked the firmware is absolutely fine. So there's two of the transmitters and one receiver. They all charge up to 100%, unplug them, and then as I'm getting ready I think actually I'll go and check the settings again. So plug them all back in one by one and they're all fine. Get to the last one and it's 77% on the battery. And I've just charged this. I know that it's 100%. So charge it up again and get it to 100%, unplug it, plug it straight back in again, 77%. Now this is a known issue with the Rode Wireless Go 2 and possibly other versions of their microphones, where the battery is not reporting its actual status. Now Rode, I know, have replaced people's transmitters, receivers, when they're showing this issue, if they're under warranty. Mine are 4 years old, 3 years old, outside their warranty anyway, so there's not a lot I can do. So I decided to run them for the full, they should be able to record 7 hours. I'll run them for the full 7 hours and see how long they actually last, because if they're down to an hour, that could be a problem. But if they're still fairly close, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. But we'll see. This video is pretty much a clipped version of that. I'm not going to make you watch 7 hours of flashing lights on the road. Also, excuse the lighting. Stan is out of action at the moment, so I'm having to use a normal ceiling light, which is, as everybody who tells you about studio lighting will say, is never a good thing. So I apologise in advance. Stan will be back in action soon. At the end of the marathon 7-hour recording session, when I plugged the Wireless Go back in, I charged all the devices back up to 100%, unplugged them and plugged them back in, and they retained the battery percentage. So they were showing 100% correctly. However, while I was editing the video, I decided to plug them back in, charge them up, and just do another check. I did the check, and unfortunately receiver 2 that was originally resetting itself to 77% is now displaying its battery percentage as 79%. So still pretty much in the same status they were in. You can see that whilst it's charging, it goes from 79% immediately to 100%, with no percentage in between. So I would say that's a problem. And when I unplug it, plug it back in again, you can see the battery symbol looks full, then suddenly changes to not full, And when we look at the settings screen, we can see that the battery is displaying as 79%. If you have this issue, or if you're looking at buying second-hand set of wireless go-to microphones, or even new, I think they still sell them, this is definitely worth watching. What we're looking for with the lights on the devices, this light is the battery light. When it's stable, steady, not flashing, it means the battery is above 20%. When it starts to flash, that means it's got less than 20% power left. When it starts to flash very fast, like twice as fast, that will mean that the battery is less than 10%. When it stops flashing, that means it's switched off because it has no battery power left. On the receiver, there are 3 battery symbols. One in the middle is for the receiver itself. The ones on the outside are for each of the 2 transmitters. I'm not sure how much info you'll be able to determine from the battery symbols. They pretty much go down, but there's no real indication of how much power is left in them at any one time. Receiver 2 dropped to less than 20% battery power at 1 hour, 20 minutes and 33 seconds. During this process, I had an issue with the camera. I was using the Sony ZV-1, and if you have that camera, you know that if it's left running too long, it overheats and switches itself off. As I wasn't actually sat here for 7 hours watching this, I didn't notice. So I have no video footage of the next few changes, but obviously it was recording audio. So I have the audio timestamps for when things changed. Transmitter 1 went to less than 20% battery power at 2 hours, 28 minutes and 9 seconds. Transmitter 2 dropped to less than 10% battery power at 2 hours, 24 minutes and 43 seconds. At 3 hours, 30 minutes and 20 seconds, transmitter 1 dropped to less than 10% battery power. At 4 hours, 59 minutes and 32 seconds, transmitter 2 finally gave up the ghost and switched itself off. 0% battery power. At 5 hours, 22 minutes and 48 seconds, transmitter 1 ran down to 0 and switched itself off. 0% battery power. I plugged transmitter 2 back into USB power so that it was recording. It was doing something so that the receiver was actually receiving a signal. Otherwise, we may have got odd results if receiver was just sat there doing nothing. At 5 hours, 42 minutes, 29 seconds, the receiver itself ran out of power. An interesting point, or at least I think it's interesting, between transmitter 2 and then transmitter 1 dropping below 20% battery power was 1 hour and 7 minutes. Between transmitter 2 and transmitter 1 reducing to less than 10% power was 1 hour and 5 minutes. So fairly consistent. But the time between them powering off completely was only 23 minutes, which is odd, but interesting. There was a further 19 minutes between transmitter 1 and the receiver completely running out of power. So, there you have it. Even at 77% capacity, the transmitter 2 still lasted 4 hours, 59 minutes, 32 seconds. So let's call that 5 hours. Pi is exactly 3! It should have a capacity of 7 hours, but that's under ideal circumstances and pretty much when it's new. Lithium-ion batteries degrade over time. Caring for them properly is essentially not letting them sit for prolonged periods of time at 0% charge or 100% charge. My batteries, when I'm not using them, live in the ZG Cine, which keeps them charged to 100% until that runs out of power. Then they all drain down to 0%, which is what they sit at. So, have we lost a lot with that one transmitter? Not really. 23 minutes in difference between transmitter 1 that was showing 100% and transmitter 2 that was showing 77%. We're getting 5 hours out of the transmitter 2, the one that was resetting itself to 77%. 5 hours for me is more than enough. I'm not going to record 5 hours in one go, and if I'm out for the day and doing lots of recording sessions, when I'm not recording, the Rode Wireless go into my ZG Cine battery charger. So they top up, and then when I'm ready to record again, off we go. 100% and then instantly 77%. Or 79% as it is now. For me, that's fine. I'm thinking that the degradation of lithium ion over time, I've not really lost anything really with this misreporting, this 77% issue. If it was a significantly lower number, I'd be interested to see the results of trying to run that for 7 hours and see what that showed. But for me, it's fine. If you have a lower number, if you have different results than I'm getting, there is an option to replace the battery. You can pick them up on Amazon, eBay. If you are competent with a soldering iron, then you could do this. But really, for me, the results of this are that I'm still left with a wireless microphone system that works more than adequately for what I need it for. So, yeah. Conclusion, it was a worthwhile 7 hours, plus many more editing. And ultimately, my microphones are fine. I can get on with recording the fitting of the small rig L bracket onto the Sony ZV-1 and all the other many videos I've got planned. So, after 3 years of neglect, I would say, transmitter 2, the one that was reporting 77%, still gets 4 hours, 59 minutes, 32 seconds, so let's just call that 5 hours, which is coincidentally the maximum time you can get from the DJI Mic 1 batteries, and only half an hour less than you get with the DJI Mic 2 batteries. It is also possible to run these mics connected to a power bank. I think that is it. Any feedback down below? If you've got the Rode Wireless Go 2, what are your batteries saying? Are you experiencing this issue? Do you have a significantly worse problem than I've got? Has anyone seen this on the Rode Wireless Pro? I'd be very interested to hear that. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this, please thumbs up, subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.